Have you ever paused to wonder why some women live vibrant, active lives well into their 90s or even reach 100 with grace, while others begin to decline far earlier, often before the age of 80? The difference is not merely genetic, it's not luck or chance either. It lies in the small, deliberate choices made every single day. These choices, although simple, are deeply powerful. They shape the trajectory of how we age, how we move, how we think, how we eat, and most importantly, how we feel about ourselves and the world around us. For generations, older women have been the backbone of their families and communities. They've nurtured children, supported spouses, and carried the emotional labor of those around them. But somewhere along the way, many women stop placing themselves at the center of their own care. They stop believing they can be strong, curious, and vibrant past a certain age. And this silent surrender, not aging itself, is often what shortens their time and dims their light far too soon. This story is not about fear. It is about freedom. Freedom from the myths we've been told about what it means to grow old. Freedom from the slow erosion of energy and purpose. And freedom to reclaim your right to a full, meaningful, and healthy life, no matter your age. In the next few chapters, we will walk together through 5 powerful principles that shape the lives of women who live to 100 and beyond. These are not generic tips. These are transformative insights grounded in science, personal observation, and the lived experiences of centenarian women around the world. We will explore how motion, nourishment, mindset, mental sharpness, and life purpose come together to create not just longer lives, but better lives. This isn't just about adding more years to your life, it's about adding more life to your years. So if you're ready to discover how to age with strength, wisdom, and joy, keep listening. And if this message speaks to you, we invite you to become part of our growing community by subscribing for future stories and guidance. Together, we are rewriting the story of aging for ourselves and for generations to come. If there is one habit that almost every woman who lives past 100 seems to share, it is this: she never stops moving. But this movement is not rooted in the kind of exercise we often associate with gyms, heavy routines, or strict regimens. It is something much deeper, much more natural, and much more joyful. These women move because it brings them energy. They walk not to burn calories, but because it makes them feel alive. They stretch not out of obligation, but because it wakes up their body in the morning and helps them sleep better at night. They garden because touching the earth gives them peace. They sweep their porches, carry their groceries, and tend to their homes not because they have to, but because they choose to stay involved in the flow of daily life. Across cultures, from the rolling hills of Sardinia to the quiet villages of Okinawa, centenarian women embrace movement as part of their daily rhythm. They don't view it as something separate from life. It is life, and that distinction is key. Modern society often separates movement from living. We place it into scheduled workout classes or isolated gym visits, but the long-living women of the world remind us that the body was made to move naturally, regularly, and without pressure. This organic movement builds a foundation of strength that carries them forward, sometimes quite literally, into their later years. Scientific studies have long confirmed what these women intuitively know. As we age, physical activity supports muscle preservation, joint flexibility, circulation, and even brain health. Movement helps regulate blood sugar, supports heart function, and prevents the loss of bone density. In contrast, a sedentary lifestyle speeds up the aging process. Inactivity weakens the immune system, leads to poor balance, and increases the risk of chronic illness. But beyond the physical effects, there is an emotional truth that's just as important. Movement lifts the spirit. It reduces anxiety. It brings clarity during emotional fog. It reminds us that we are still capable, still vibrant, still very much alive. The moment we stop moving, physically or mentally, is often the moment we begin to withdraw from life itself. And yet, so many older women are quietly taught to slow down. They are told, with gentle concern, to take it easy, as though rest and stillness were the natural state of aging. But the women who live to 100 defy this quiet pressure. They choose to keep walking, keep reaching, and keep flowing through each day. Their secret is not intensity, but consistency. And they don't need to run marathons. They don't need to lift heavy weights or join expensive clubs. Instead, they commit to moving their bodies every day in ways that feel good to them. Some stretch on the floor while listening to music. Others take walks with friends or grandchildren. Some dance in the kitchen as the soup simmers on the stove. It is this daily decision, the choice to remain in motion, that protects their health and preserves their independence, because the ability to get up, to reach, to walk, to lift, and to breathe deeply, these are not luxuries, they are freedoms, and they are freedoms worth fighting for. If you are unsure where to begin, start simply. Take a few extra steps each morning. Stand up and stretch between your daily activities. If you enjoy music, let yourself sway or dance, even for just a few minutes. Gardening, sweeping, folding laundry, these are not small tasks. They are small victories for your health. The key is not to compare yourself to others. The key is to keep choosing movement over stillness, presence over withdrawal, action over passivity. Your body was made to move, and when you honor that truth, it will reward you with energy, with strength, and with a sense of inner confidence that does not fade with time. In the quiet rhythm of your own movement, you will rediscover something powerful, not just vitality, but joy. If movement is the rhythm that keeps the body alive, then nourishment is the foundation that supports every other aspect of healthy aging. And for women who live long, vibrant lives, food is never just about filling the stomach. It's about sustaining the body, healing the mind, and respecting the life they've been given. What sets these women apart is not extreme dieting or strict nutritional rules. Instead, it's their unwavering relationship with real food, simple, whole ingredients that come from the earth, not from a package. Around the world, the longest living women are those who embrace food as a gift. They eat slowly, often in the company of others, savoring flavors and colors. Their plates are filled with fresh vegetables, seasonal fruits, whole grains, legumes, lean proteins, and healthy fats like nuts, seeds, and olive oil. These are not superfoods in a trendy sense. They are ordinary, timeless ingredients used with care. In contrast, many women in modern societies fall into a pattern of convenience eating, processed snacks, sugary drinks, frozen meals, or fast food grabbed on the go. Often this shift happens after decades of putting others first, feeding families, skipping meals, and settling for quick bites between responsibilities. Unfortunately, this disconnection from mindful eating catches up over time. The body responds to what we feed it, and with aging, it becomes even more sensitive to what is missing or excessive. Too much sugar, for instance, accelerates inflammation and cellular aging. Highly processed foods, those filled with additives and preservatives, contribute to digestive problems, brain fog, and chronic illnesses such as heart disease or type 2 diabetes. Over time, these eating habits become not just unhealthy, but quietly dangerous. On the other hand, a diet rich in nutrients creates the opposite effect. It builds energy reserves, strengthens immunity, protects the heart, and supports the brain. It fuels the body with what it actually needs, not just what it craves in moments of fatigue or emotional hunger. The women who live to 100 eat with intention, not restriction. They know that food is not the enemy, it is their ally. It's not about counting calories or chasing the latest health trends. It's about returning to the basics, clean, colorful, and nourishing meals. They eat leafy greens and herbs that support bone health and digestion. They enjoy beans and lentils, which are rich in fiber and protein. They consume omega-3 fats from foods like walnuts or sardines, which keep the brain sharp and reduce inflammation. Their meals are not built around excess, but around balance, enough to satisfy, never to overload. Equally important is how they eat. They often sit down at a table. They eat slowly, without rushing. Many share meals with loved ones, turning nourishment into a social ritual. They respect their fullness and rarely eat until discomfort. This slow, mindful approach does more than aid digestion. It also builds a sense of gratitude and peace around food. If you want to follow in their footsteps, you don't need to make drastic changes overnight. Start small. Replace one sugary snack with a handful of almonds or slices of fruit. Add steamed greens to your dinner. Choose whole grain bread over white. Cook one more meal from scratch this week than you did last week. These small shifts, repeated consistently, begin to change the chemistry of your body and your mindset around food. Over time, you'll notice a difference, not just in how you look, but in how you feel. Lighter, clearer, more grounded. Food is not just fuel. It is information. It tells your body what to do next, whether to heal or to hurt, whether to strengthen or to weaken. You have the power, through your choices, to write a new story for your health, starting with your next meal. And remember, nourishing yourself is not selfish. It is an act of self-respect. You have given so much to others throughout your life. Now is the time to give your body the care it has long deserved. When you choose food that honors your future begins to honor you in return. With vitality, clarity, and strength that carries you gracefully through the years ahead, while movement keeps the body agile and nourishment fuels its strength. It is the mind, sharpened, curious, and engaged, that gives life its depth, meaning, and direction. For the women who thrive well into their 90s and beyond, cognitive health is not treated as an afterthought. It is a priority, maintained with the same dedication as physical well-being. What becomes evident when we study centenarian women is this: they never stop learning, they never stop thinking, and they never allow their age to define the boundaries of their mental growth. This isn't about formal education or returning to school, although many do embrace structured learning even in their later years. Instead, it is about a mindset, a deliberate choice to stay mentally active, to remain interested in the world, and to continually challenge the brain through new experiences, creative exploration, and purposeful engagement. From reading books to writing letters, from solving puzzles to starting hobbies, the brain of a long-lived woman is never left idle. She knows that just like muscles, the mind needs exercise, and she gives it that exercise, not out of fear, but out of genuine joy. Neuroscience now confirms what these women have practiced intuitively for generations. The brain has a remarkable ability to adapt and grow, even into the 80s, 90s, and beyond. This ability, called Neuroplasticity means that every new challenge, every unfamiliar task, every novel idea actively strengthens the brain's connections, keeping it agile and resilient against decline. Women who live long lives often report that they remain mentally engaged through the pursuit of purpose, teaching others, mentoring younger generations, volunteering in their communities, or exploring spiritual and intellectual questions that deepen their sense of meaning. Their curiosity never fades. It simply evolves. And it is this curiosity that protects them. While many people withdraw into routines, habits, and comfort zones with age, long-lived women do the opposite. They stretch, they explore, they take up new hobbies, learning a new language, trying a musical instrument, writing down their memories or insights, even picking up painting or technology well into their 70s and 80s. These activities are not distractions. They are investments, each one adding to their emotional resilience and mental clarity. But staying mentally sharp is not only about puzzles or study, it is also deeply connected to emotional health. A brain that feels isolated or unvalued often begins to withdraw. Loneliness, especially in older adults, is one of the strongest predictors of cognitive decline. In contrast, women who stay socially connected through conversation, friendship, community, or family show stronger mental performance, reduce risk of dementia, and better memory function overall. A conversation shared over tea, a discussion about a favorite book, a gentle debate with a friend, a memory recalled with laughter. These are not just pleasant moments, they are brain-nourishing acts. For those seeking to preserve their mental strength, here are a few timeless strategies to follow. Read daily, even if only for a few pages. Choose books that spark thought or stir emotion. Write regularly, whether it's in a journal, a letter to a friend, or reflections on your life journey. Challenge your memory with simple tasks, recalling details from a story, memorizing a short poem, or playing word games. Try something new, no matter how small, a new recipe, a new walking route, a new topic to explore online or in a class. Stay engaged with others, talk, listen, laugh, and learn through the lives of those around you. And perhaps most importantly, believe in your brain's ability to grow. Do not let society or even family members convince you that you are too old to learn something new. Every time you challenge that belief, you strengthen the part of yourself that refuses to settle. And that is where mental longevity truly begins. Let your mind remain a living garden, one that is constantly being watered by curiosity, fertilized by learning, and kept vibrant through conversation and creativity. Because when your brain is active, your entire life becomes more vivid, more meaningful, and more beautifully alive. There is a silent, deeply ingrained message woven into the fabric of our culture. A message that tells women, especially as they grow older, to expect decline. You've likely heard the phrases yourself. That's just what happens when you get older, or you should take it easy now. These are not always said with malice. Often, they come from a place of concern, but their effect over time can be quietly devastating. The women who live to 100 and live well refuse to accept this narrative. They do not view aging as a slow surrender to weakness, but rather as a continuation of growth, wisdom, and capability. And perhaps most importantly, they truly believe, that their best years can still be ahead of them. This mindset is not wishful thinking. It is a scientifically supported truth. A growing body of research shows that a person's attitude toward aging, how they perceive their own aging process, has a direct impact on their physical health, mental resilience, and even lifespan. In fact, studies have shown that individuals with a positive view of aging live an average of 7.5 years longer than those with a negative outlook. Why is this the case? Because belief influences behavior, and behavior influences biology. A woman who sees aging as a loss will gradually stop pushing herself. She'll become more hesitant, less engaged, less adventurous. Over time, she may stop setting new goals or believing that growth is possible. Without realizing it, she begins to retreat, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. In contrast, a woman who embraces aging as a time of transformation continues to move forward. She sets goals. She adapts to changes in her body without giving up on what she can still do. She chooses to remain involved, visible, and active in her own life. And in doing so, she protects her strength, her spirit, and her independence. There is no denying that the body changes over time. Energy shifts, recovery slows, but these changes are not the end of capability. They are simply new conditions to work with. Women who live long, meaningful lives adapt rather than retreat. They listen to their bodies, care for them attentively, and adjust their routines without abandoning their power. Think of it this way: aging is not a downhill slope. It is a curve with new views and new opportunities at every turn. Those who thrive are those who remain open to what each stage of life offers. And resilience is at the core of this. Resilience is not about denying reality or pretending things are easy. It's about facing change with grace, flexibility, and strength. It's about waking up each morning and asking, what can I do today to feel strong, connected, and alive, instead of focusing on what can no longer be done. If you've found yourself struggling with a sense of decline, begin by questioning the beliefs that led you there. Ask yourself, when did I start thinking I had to slow down? Who taught me that aging meant fading? What stories about aging have I accepted that no longer serve me? And then, gently, without judgment, start to rewrite that story. Focus on your strengths. Maybe your hands are no longer as fast, but your wisdom moves quicker than ever. Maybe your balance isn't perfect, but your inner grounding is deeper than it's ever been. Find the abilities that remain strong and let those guide your growth. There is profound power in refusing to accept decline as your destiny, not because aging won't bring challenges, but because you are more than capable of rising to meet them. The centenarian women of the world are not immune to hardship. They face loss, change, and struggle just like anyone else. What sets them apart is how they respond. They keep evolving. They keep showing up. They keep saying yes to life, even when it gets hard. And by doing so, they defy the expectation that age equals limitation. Let this be your truth as well. You are not done growing. You are not done becoming. Your story is still unfolding, and every chapter has something new to offer. Aging is not your enemy. The real enemy is the belief that you are no longer allowed to thrive. Reject that belief. Replace it with a new one that tells you every stage of life has beauty, strength, and possibility. You have more to experience, more to learn, more to share, and more to give. Let that belief guide you, and watch how your life opens up in ways you never imagined. There is a question that quietly haunts many women as they grow older, often after retirement, after children have grown, or after the loss of a beloved partner. What am I here for now? It is not a question of sadness alone. It is a question of identity, of direction, of the deep human need to feel that our lives still matter. And the answer to that question, your purpose, is perhaps the most important key to long, vibrant living. Among all the habits and behaviors shared by women who live to 100, there is one unshakable truth that binds them together. They know why they get out of bed in the morning. Their purpose may not be loud or grand. It may not be tied to a job title or to public recognition, but it is deeply personal, completely alive within them, and fully theirs. Purpose can take many forms. For some women, it's nurturing family relationships, being present for grandchildren, passing down stories, offering wisdom gained through decades of lived experience. For others, it's involvement in community, volunteering, leading book clubs, supporting causes close to the heart. Still others find purpose in creativity, spirituality, or continued learning. What matters is not what the purpose is, but that it exists, clear, energizing, and personal. Science supports this truth. Studies show that older adults with a strong sense of purpose live longer, recover more quickly from illness, and are less likely to experience cognitive decline or depression. Having purpose increases motivation to move, to eat well, to stay socially connected, and to engage with the world around us. Without purpose, time begins to blur, days lose their shape, life feels heavy, colorless, repetitive. Even physical energy starts to drain, not because the body is failing, but because the heart is unanchored. That's why purpose isn't optional in later life. It is essential. And yet, many older women struggle to reclaim it after years of devoting themselves to the needs of others. It can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, to ask, what brings me joy? Or, what do I want to give the world now? But the women who thrive into their 90s and beyond have dared to ask and answer those questions. They don't measure their days by how much they accomplish. They measure them by how connected they feel to something that matters, a person, a task, a belief, a mission, a cause, a craft. This sense of purpose doesn't just guide them, it protects them. It shields them from the emotional weight of loss, from the drift of time, and from the slow erosion of motivation. When life becomes difficult, and it always does, purpose is what gives them the strength to keep going, to keep caring, and to keep living with intention. So how do you begin to uncover your own purpose? You start by listening. Listen to what stirs your heart. What gives you a sense of peace or energy or meaning? What makes you feel needed, useful, or fulfilled? You may find the answers in the quiet moments, in the stories you tell, the skills you share, or the things you've always wanted to try but never made time for. Purpose doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to change the world. It only needs to change how you feel when you wake up in the morning. Even small purposes, a weekly phone call to a friend, a daily walk to greet neighbors, a handwritten letter to someone who needs encouragement, can restore meaning to your days. But you'll find, as so many long-lived women have discovered, is that once purpose reawakens within you, everything else begins to align. You eat better because you want the energy. You move more because you want to participate. You learn again because you feel invested in life. You smile more because your heart feels full again. And perhaps most beautifully, purpose reconnects you to others. A purposeful life is not a life lived alone. It's a life lived in service, in joy, in community. And when you begin to share your purpose, you inspire others, children, peers, strangers, to find their own. That is how legacy is built, not only in what you leave behind, but in how you live right now, with clarity, with courage, and with the quiet fire of a woman who knows her life still matters. Your purpose doesn't retire when you do. It doesn't vanish when your roles change. It waits patiently, sometimes in silence, for you to return to it. So ask yourself gently but firmly, what am I here to love, to give, to build, to enjoy, to heal, to witness, to protect? Because when you find that answer, or even the beginning of it, your life becomes richer, steadier, and more vibrant than you imagined possible. Purpose is not a chapter that closes with age. It is the heartbeat of every day still to come. As we reach the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect, not just on the 5 secrets we've explored, but on what they reveal about your own potential. To live a longer, healthier, and more joyful life, you do not need to become someone else. You do not need to strive for perfection, follow rigid routines, or fit into anyone else's version of aging gracefully. You need only to return to what has always been within you, the power to choose, and the power to begin again. The women who thrive past 80, 90, and even 100 are not driven by fear of illness or decline. They are guided by intentionality. They keep moving, not to fight time, but to feel alive. They nourish their bodies, not out of guilt, but out of respect. They keep learning, not to prove anything, but because they are still curious. They defy decline, not through denial, but through quiet resilience. And above all, they live with purpose, not for recognition, but because meaning is what makes life worth waking up for. None of these secrets are locked behind age, wealth, or perfect health. They are small, daily acts, habits of the heart, mind, and body that are available to you right now. You are not too late. You are not too old. You are not past your prime. The truth is, this stage of life can be the most freeing of all. The pressures of youth have lifted. The need to please others, to meet expectations, to rush from one task to the next, they no longer define you. Now, you have space to reconnect with yourself, to savor your days more deeply, and to live not just longer, but more fully. Let the wisdom of those who've gone before you be your guide. Let their stories remind you that aging is not a slow disappearance, but a quiet, powerful emergence. It is a time of insight, clarity, and peace, a time when you can build strength not only in your bones, but in your spirit. So begin. Begin with one change, one new walk, one new recipe, one new book, one new goal, one new conversation. Let it lead you to the next and the next until you begin to feel the shift within you. Life will not wait, but it will meet you wherever you are if you choose to meet it with open hands. And if this message has stirred something in you, I invite you to subscribe and join our growing community of women who are redefining what aging looks and feels like. Here we believe in movement, in nourishment, in learning, in strength, and in purpose. And most importantly, we believe in you. Your journey is still unfolding, and it's far from over. You have time. You have choice, you have purpose. Now, go live like